Hello, this is Alex from A Monkey RC. So this is really my first video out of my garage with a voiceover, and I got no idea how this turns out, but I really hope that you enjoy it. I'm doing this video because I want to rebuild this truck. This is my like a competition truck. It's an SCX10.2 with a 4-wheel steering and a dicky unit, and I like how it handles, how light it is. But the problem is that if there's any competition around here, it's mostly about scale trucks, and I can't really make any use of it. So, and in the year 22 now, there are 4 competitions upcoming, and I actually want to participate, but I want to use the features that this truck actually has, and not to use any of my TRX4. So I decided to rebuild it, and before I take everything apart, I wanted to make a small review of this one to show you all of the parts that I used, and yeah, so it's not gonna be forgotten. Okay, the first is the body. This is just a standard power wagon from Proline. It's really slim, I like it. I think I didn't cut it too far. I see other people really cutting it up to this line here. It still gives us some of the scale looks of it, and it's still, in all of its flex, it still barely touches. So this was really a great choice. With our competitions now, the issue is that you can't have the back open, and the second part is you need to have the fenders barely at least going over the tire, so it prevents the flexing from flexing too much. So I have to choose another option. Okay, so let's continue with the chassis. Let's take the body off. It actually is pretty close to a stock SCX10.2, but I'm using the carbon fiber rails, so not the steel ones that come with the stock package. I actually got them pretty cheap, I think from China, I don't know how much, for like 20 euros or so. And they're pretty nice, so they're pretty stiff. And I'm using in the back a self-printed brace here, the same in the front, but I'm still using the stock chassis mounts, body mounts, the same in the back, and I'm using self-designed and self-printed body panels. So the good one with this one actually is they are mounted from the inside, so the screws face outside from the center. So that actually means that there are no holes seen from the outside, and that actually gives us a very smooth surface, so no point where the rock or something else could actually hook up. Then there is the battery mount, which is also a self-printed plate. It is designed really to give the lowest possible clearance to the links, but still putting the battery as low as possible. So when really fully compressed, the battery center of gravity is almost at the height of the axle mounted servo. Also on here we do have the dick unit servo, and with that the linkage to the transmission, but we come to that a little later. Okay, so next is my shock setup. I'm actually using the stock shocks, the plastic ones that come with the creators kit, and I'm not using them because they are so super smooth. I'm using them because they give the largest travel compared to their size. So when you put them side by side to a standard TRX4 shock, these actually are larger when fully extended, but still smaller when fully compressed. So they give really a larger travel, and of course putting them on all 4 corners basically increases the flex. In the front I have the Axial wide springs, and in the back the TRX4 wide springs. They, even though having the same color marking, these are much stiffer, basically giving me a much stronger back end. And I'm also using rubber bands to pull them a little bit down, so enforcing a droop setup, and that actually works pretty well. Okay, then next is going to be the motor. I'm actually using a Hobby Wing Fusion with the large can. There actually is a trick to mounting it, which will come a little later, but just for the motor I really like it, especially for the weight. So for me, there are actually stronger ones and ones with more punch and more control out there, but this one really gives the best of all worlds, especially compared to the weight. I think it's only 200 grams just as it is. You have no extra ESC or something, and it's completely watertight and has a lot of control and a lot of stuff that you can actually adjust and configure if you want to. transmission. It actually is mounted to a standard skid plate. This one features a dig unit on it. It's actually fully metal, which I don't like, and I want to print a new casing that replaces the metal casing here. I just want to see if that holds up really to the forces, but from my experience from all the other printed parts, it actually could work out. Then the dig unit works pretty well, so I can put your link down there if you want to order it. There is the site server for it. And the true trick of it, if you want to use it with a large can motor, then like this, you will have some clearance issues here with the lower back links. And to do that, I don't know if you can see it, the whole transmission is tilted forward so that it lifts the back part of the motor a little bit higher, just good enough so it will still fit in even when fully compressed and fully flexed. It still clears the motor. But the whole trick really is to lift the back end of the motor a little bit. Okay, so next is going to be another main feature of that car, and that's the four-wheel steering. So just a word for the usage of it. So I definitely liked how it handles, but it makes things actually so much easier that it definitely is like cheating. So I totally understand why it's not allowed in any of these scale competitions around here. In the front I'm using the metal Chinese axle. I think that's quite common, and I put a link in the description so you exactly know which one it is. And in the back I'm using the stock Axial one. So first for the good sides, the Chinese one, I think from the smoothness part and also from the steering angle, it is really on par with the Axial one. So I think even the out-of-the-box steering angle of this one is actually better because the steering link actually fits better. For the smoothness, I just gotta say I got another gearing in here. I got an overdrive. Totally fits fine, so all of the measures are actually the same. The one big downside, and that's also the reason why I won't be using this in the next build, but instead get the stock one in the front again, is the clearance. This one actually has a lower clearance than the stock one. I measured it, that it is about 37 millimeters, while the stock one actually has 41. And while not having any portals, really that makes a difference. So that puts me to the point saying, for any of the performance cars, even though the smoothness is great and also the weight, I think it's quite favorable, that missing clearance really messes things up for me, so I'm gonna go back to the stock one. Other than that, if you're building any scale part or so, I can totally recommend the Chinese one. Alright, then let's go on to the tires. So here we have metal mounted Pro line crawlers in Predator compound. They're just awesome. I like the stickiness of them, especially I like how they grip on loose grounds. Also on rocks they are just fine. I just heard people saying that on rocks there are better tires around, but for the surface conditions that I meet here, they're just perfect. Inside here I do have a plastic compressor ring, not the standard aluminum one in the beadlocks. I do that just to make the wheels a little bit lighter again. I just felt that the outside having metal gave me the most perfect balance, and everything more was actually holding me back in the punch. Inside here we do have single stage foams. I don't want to take them out now, but I take a photo, so it should be up here. And you can see that they actually have holes, so they act like dual stage foams. In the front I have softer ones than in the back, which you can actually feel. Maybe you can also see it. I do like the idea of having a stronger back, and overall they just grip super nicely. And there are actually other reviews for these foams around, and they're just always getting gray marks. Okay, so next is for the battery. I'm using a Tattoo 850 milliamps battery with the XC60 connector. On the bottom I'm using anti-sliding tape so they won't fall out of my small battery tray here. They are just perfectly fine. I think I can make the whole competition with one battery. I'm always changing the battery after the half of it, but it is actually never empty. So they are really, I think, the best sweet spot between weight and power. last but not least, this is the remote that I'm using. This is the FlySky GT5 with 6 channels. My big seller point of this remote really is that I can easily use it for one-handed steering. It fits perfectly in my hand, the trigger is super smooth, and all of the menu that I have is perfectly enough for everything that you want to do. And it even has a gyro support, which I'm not using in any of these rigs, but I used to do it in the TRX4, and it really was quite helpful. Alright, so that concludes my little showroom of my current setup. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, of course feel free to post them into the comment section and I will answer as far as I can. If you have any needs for the parts that are 3D printed here, just let me know and I will share them and you can use them in your car. So keep it rolling and see you soon.